The president and vice president seeing the devastation of Hurricane Helene firsthand.
President Biden is in the Carolinas today. He got an aerial tour of the damage earlier. The president also ordered 1,000 active duty troops to help with recovery in that area. The White House announced he will travel to affected areas in Florida and Georgia tomorrow. Vice President Kamala Harris is in Georgia today. She will be talking about recovery efforts in that state later on.
At least 175 people have died because of this storm. Many communities still struggling to get basic supplies like water, food, and electricity. NBC News correspondent Ryan Nobles is in Augusta, Georgia, and NBC News correspondent Antonia Hilton is in Asheville, North Carolina. Antonia, we'll start with you. You've been talking with people at a supply distribution site all day. Sounds busy around you. What are some of the biggest challenges they say they're facing as they're trying to recover?
Yeah, Zinkley, we got here at about 8 a.m. today, and it has just gotten busier and busier. In fact, they've had to create a second line. So at first, there was only one line serving families that were coming through on my right-hand side, but they've expanded and doubled that operation. People need water. They need food, non-perishable food, specifically because they still don't have the ability to use their stoves or to boil water, for example. So they are asking for supplies for their infants, things like formula and diapers. There are people who need food for their pets who haven't eaten properly in several days. So you are seeing the full impacts now, 5 days out from all of this. It's still very real on the ground. Take a listen to a conversation that I had with one resident.
I just try to look for the good people, and it's so lovely to see all of the kids outside playing because there's no power and there's no internet, and so they're forced to play with each other, and it has absolutely brought the community together in such a beautiful way, and I just try to focus on that.
And if you've never been to Asheville, that spirit that she just shared with you there, that kind of attitude is the norm here. People coming together, really loving on their neighbors and helping them through. And that spirit is really saving people at this moment because they say in many cases, while they know the federal government is doing everything they can to get people on the ground support here, they're not feeling it. It's hard to find out about it because they can't go on the internet, they can't make phone calls, and so it's their friends and neighbors who work at places like this location here, run by the Manna Food Bank, that are actually getting the water and the food into their hands, into their cars. And so if you are wondering who you can support right now, think about supporting local organizations because they are the folks making the fastest impacts in life.
Yeah, you can see it behind you. Everybody's moving really fast. Antonia, thank you. Let me turn to Ryan. So you're in Augusta, Georgia. It hasn't gotten quite as much attention as other areas impacted by the storm. Ryan, how is the recovery looking there? What do they hope to hear from the vice president?
Yeah, Kate, I think it is important to point out that maybe the damage isn't as extensive as it is in parts of North Carolina and Tennessee, but Augusta got hit pretty hard, and they weren't really prepared for it. They didn't think that the storm would move this far east, and it did come with it a lot of rain and a lot of wind. You can see this house behind me has several trees that fell on top of it. Almost every tree on the street that we are, or I should say every house on this street that we are on, met a similar fate. Now, it is intermittent. You can go down one street and everything looks fine, go down another street and you see the kind of damage that we're seeing here behind me. And as a result, the recovery has been intermittent. There are some places that have power. You can go about a mile away from here, and there's a stretch with restaurants open for business, people getting food. They're able to take care of themselves, but you go a mile in the other direction, and there's no power to be had. Same with cell service, very intermittent. And so that's one of the reasons that you see Vice President Harris focusing her visit to this area. She's going to meet with first responders, talk to some of the victims. She's actually going to tour some of the extensive damage that took place here, and then send a message that the federal government is here to help. It is, of course, something that many people, not just in Augusta, but across up and down the East Coast, are concerned is not getting to them fast enough. Okay.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.